So Megha and I will be chanting together.
Oh, lovely. Okay, great.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. वसुदेवेन्द्र योगीन्द्रम् नत्वा ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुम् मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय तत्त्वबोधो विधीयते नित्यं शुद्धं निराभासं निराकारं निरञ्जनम् नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम् तत्त्वविवेकः कः आत्मा सत्यं तदन्यत् सर्वं मिथ्येति आत्मा कः स्थूलसूक्ष्मकारणशरीराद् व्यतिरिक्तः पञ्चकोशातीतः सन् अवस्थात्रयसाक्षी सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः सन् यस्तिष्ठति स आत्मा स्थूलशरीरं किम् पञ्चीकृत पञ्चमहाभूतैः कृतं तत्कर्मजन्यं सुखदुःखादिभोगयत्नं शरीरम् अस्ति जायते वर्धते विपरिणमते अपक्षीयते विनश्यति इति षड्विकारवदेतत् स्थूलशरीरम्.
Very, very good. Just bhogayatanam. One of you said bhogayatanam.
भोगायतनम्. सूक्ष्मशरीरं किम् अपञ्चीकृत पञ्चमहाभूतैकृतं सत्कर्मजन्यं सुखदुःख आदि भोगसाधनं पञ्चज्ञानेन्द्रियाणि पञ्चकर्मेन्द्रियाणि पञ्चप्राणादयः मनश्चैकं बुद्धिश्चैका एवं सप्तदशाकलाभिः सह यतिष्ठति तत्सूक्ष्मशरीरम्. कारणशरीरं किम् अनिर्वाच्यानादिविद्यारूपम्
Anirvachyanadyavidyarupam.
अनिर्वाचनाद्यविद्यारूपम्
शरीरद्वयस्य
कारणमात्रं शरीरद्वयस्य कारणं तत्स्वरूपज्ञानं निर्विकल्पकरूपं यदस्ति तत्कारणशरीरम्.
तत्स्वरूपाज्ञानम्
अवस्थात्रयं किम् जाग्रत् स्वप्न सुषुप्त्यवस्थाः. जाग्रदवस्था का
श्रोत्रादि ज्ञानेन्द्रियैः शब्दादि विषयैश्च ज्ञायते इति.
श्रोत्रादि ज्ञानेन्द्रियैः शब्दादि विषयैश्च ज्ञायते इति.
या सा जाग्रदवस्था स्थूलशरीराभिमानी आत्मा विश्व इत्युच्यते.
स्थूलशरीराभिमानी आत्मा विश्व इत्युच्यते.
स्वप्नावस्था केति चेत्
स्वप्नावस्था केति चेत्
जाग्रदवस्थायां यत् दृष्टं यत् श्रुतं
जाग्रदवस्थायां यत् दृष्टं यत् श्रुतं
तज्जनितवासनया निद्रासमये
तज्जनितवासनाया निद्रासमये
यः प्रपञ्चः प्रतीयते सा स्वप्नावस्था
यः प्रपञ्चः प्रतीयते सा स्वप्नावस्था
सूक्ष्मशरीराभिमानी आत्मा तैजस इत्युच्यते
सूक्ष्मशरीराभिमानी आत्मा तेजस इत्युच्यते
अथ सुषुप्त्यवस्था का
अथ सुषुप्त्यवस्था का
अहं किमपि न जानामि
अहं किमपि न जानामि
सुखेन मया निद्रानुभूयत इति सुषुप्त्यवस्था
सुखेन मया निद्रानुभूयते इति सुषुप्त्यवस्था
कारणशरीरा पेना की मात्रा कारणशरीराभिमानी आत्मा प्राज्ञ इत्युच्यते
कारणशरीराभिमानी आत्मा प्राज्ञ इत्युच्यते
आत्मा कः
आत्मा कः स्थूलसूक्ष्मकारणशरीराद् व्यतिरिक्तः पञ्चकोशातीतः सन् अवस्थात्रयसाक्षी सच्चिदानन्दस्वरूपः सन् यस्तिष्ठति स आत्मा पञ्चकोशाः के अन्नमयः प्राणमयः मनोमयः विज्ञानमयः आनन्दमयश्चेति
अन्नमयः कः
अन्नमयः कः
अन्नरसेनैव भूत्वा
अन्नरसेनैव भूत्वा
अन्नरसेनैव वृद्धिं प्राप्य
अन्नरसेनैव वृद्धिं प्राप्य
अन्नरूपपृथिव्यां यद्विलीयते
अन्नरूपपृथिव्यां यद्विलीयते
तदन्नमयः कोशः स्थूलशरीरम्
तदन्नमयः कोशः स्थूलशरीरम्
प्राणमयः कः
प्राणमयः कः
प्राणाद्याः
प्राणाद्याः
पञ्चवायवः
पञ्चवायवः
वागादि इन्द्रिय
वागादि इन्द्रिय
पञ्चकं प्राणमयः कोशः
पञ्चकं प्राणमयः कोशः
मनोमयः कोशः कः
मनोमयः कोशः कः
मनश्च ज्ञानेन्द्रियपञ्चकं मिलित्वा
मनश्च ज्ञानेन्द्रियपञ्चकं मिलित्वा
यो भवति सः मनोमयः कोशः
यो भवति सः मनोमयः कोशः
विज्ञानमयः कः
विज्ञानमयः कः
बुद्धिर्ज्ञानेन्द्रियपञ्चकं मिलित्वा
बुद्धिर्ज्ञानेन्द्रियपञ्चकं मिलित्वा
यो भवति सः विज्ञानमयः कोशः
यो भवति सः विज्ञानमयः कोशः
आनन्दमयः कः
आनन्दमयः कः
एवमेव कारणशरीरभूत
एवमेव कारणशरीरभूत
अविद्यास्थ
अविद्यास्थ
मलिनसत्त्वं
मलिनसत्त्वं
प्रियादिवृत्तिसहितं सत्
क्रियादिवृत्तिसहितं सत्
आनन्दमयः कोशः
आनन्दमयः कोशः
एतत् कोशपञ्चकम्
एतत् कोशपञ्चकम्
Great, very good. Thank you so much. And I must admit that at the moment I'm a perfect example of Pramoda. You have absolutely made all these months such music to me. I'm absolutely in Anandamaya kosha at the moment. I'm sorry, Anandamaya kosha at the moment. It was such a pleasure and so pleasant to listen to both of you together. Lovely.
Thank you, Ji.
Keep it up. God bless. So, and actually it will be a very good example to say, see how the Pramoda is a kosha. And I'm going to continue the class from here exactly in this example. I have experienced a lot of joy at the moment because I don't think I expected everyone to learn chanting so easily, or recitation. It's not a chanting in the real sense. And that you have done it so enthusiastically. So I think somewhere I am enjoying, and I think I just feel I've done my work and now I can kind of chalo. You know? So that kind of a joy that you just feel suddenly, you know, for whatever reason, may not be very active to your mind. I was not anticipating something, I was not expecting something, but I have a joy at the moment. And that joy is superlative for me. For me, this is my highest definition of enjoyment, joy. So this joy that I am now associating with, I think you will all understand very easily now. This joy that I have experienced, and I am transferring it to this experience that we have just had. This becomes a kosha for me. How? Because I am attributing it to a conditional cause. The ananda that is there, that I have experienced, has not come because of you're chanting it so well, both of you. It is not, it has triggered for sure. It's become the cause for it. In my mind, it is the cause for it. But at the same time, Ananda is my Swarup, Atma Swarup. So whatever Anand we experience in the world in any form, it can be anything. That Ananda, when I conclude I am so happy now, that conclusion I am so happy now, in my mind has become related to something that began and it has ended. It began, say, halfway when you did your chanting, the minute the invocation was done, it began with the invocation, and when I heard it and it reverberated in my ears and I got sudden eruption of joy, that eruption of joy had a beginning. That beginning, I'm attributing it to the beginning of this session, say. But Ananda doesn't begin over there. That error that we make in ignorance, that error that we conclude that I'm happy now, this has given me happiness and I'm very, very happy, or etc. The minute I give this conclusion to something, it has now blocked my cognition of me being the Ananda Swarupa. Atma is Ananda. So wherever we experience Ananda in the world, in any form, Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Priya is pleasant. The minute you say, okay, or any other example, doesn't matter. You know, I want an ice cream and I have thought of an ice cream and I just say, I desire an ice cream, and suddenly pop comes the message from a grocery shop nearby who says, we have it, London Dairy, 15% off today, we can. Now suddenly you were just thinking of ice cream and suddenly your grocery shop says that there is a 15% off on ice cream that you desired and you may not have got it otherwise, but now you know that joy that began. This beginning attributed thought of beginning. I think that it has begun with this message. I think that it has begun with my meeting someone. I think that it has begun when I've concluded a work. That notion that I carry that Ananda is limited. This idea is the kosha which prevents it from recognizing my Swarupa. And because it is a kosha, it is available for discernment. What is the advantage of kosha? The advantage of the knowledge of kosha is that you can discern what is Atma and what is not Atma. The minute my cognition, self-conclusion that I'm a happy person today, that happiness that I have experienced began, and because it begins, I know it has ended. Because it has ended, I will be now, if I don't have Viveka Buddhi, if I don't have this Vedantic knowledge, I will now start looking for something else. Because I can stay for 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours without happiness, but I've experienced a happiness, and obviously the absence of it will be called not happiness, unhappiness. I'm not so happy as I was. Okay, I'm not disturbed. I'm not in the negative of happiness. But I will start wanting something else which will give me sukham. Bracket it all into indriya sukham. All indriya sukham or memory sukham. Oh, we had such a lovely time. All the alumni meets that we have. In all our alumni meets, what are we talking? Of course, no meets now. There are only Zoom meets. But in all the alumni meets, those were the days, my friend. We thought they'd never end. Those were the days. That sukh that we are calling in our memory, associated with certain things. This becomes Anandamaya, cognition. Now, why is it called Malina Sattva? Because in this, though I'm saying I am Ananda, but my Ananda has got the layer of ignorance of me being Ananda Swarup and lending that Ananda Swarup upon things and beings and then saying those things and beings are giving me happiness. What is a Malina Sattvam? Sattva by itself is, as a quality, as a guna, is something which is the characteristic of Ananda. When children, newly born, when they are happy, when they are not hungry or thirsty or uncomfortable, they are happy. That happiness that is coming naturally without any cause that they're aware of. That happiness is because of sattvic gun. Sattva is the reason for uncalled for happiness. Uncalled for happiness, there's another reason. By the way, just to complete your notes in that sense, the other reason for just uncalled for happiness is past punya karmas. When they have expressed themselves, suddenly there is an occasion to get some happiness. I would say the happiness I got is past punya karma, because you see, you all learned it, so I got a happiness. I did do nothing about it in the present, but for me it is happiness now, suddenly earned because of something else. But at this point, I cannot call the cause to be anything else. Punya karam can be a cause for a sudden pramoda, or a sudden something happens which has fructified joy in you. It can be. We are not going to the opposite thing, sudden dukkha and all that stuff. We are sticking to Anandamaya kosha. In this idea, sattva is said to be, in its more the sattvic content in a person, more peaceful and joyful, cheerful they are. More objective they are, more in management of themselves they are. Sattvic gun means it brings clarity. It is like that clear crystal. It just reveals itself. It is illumining. It is something which doesn't block. It's not opaque. It's transparent. A guna which is transparent. So consciousness, awareness, Atma Drishti, Atma Prakash, call it, just illumines through it. The more sattvic content it is, more illumined the person, more clearer the person is of themselves. That's the characteristic of sattva. Now, pure sattva cannot exist. Sattva is always tainted with rajas and tamas. Pure sattva is only the state of no embodiment. The minute there is embodiment means there is gradations of all three identified, because sattva, rajas and tamas are said to be gunas of avidya. अविद्या के गुण है ये, अविद्या की characteristics है. Not that avidya can be broken into some parts, but you recognize by the expression of avidya that this is sattvic, this is rajasic, and this is tamasic. What is a rajasic? That joyful, excited, when you have if you meet a friend after a long time and you go punching each other and you hit each other and then you go all kinds of highly excited activities and they give you a lot of joy. Activity gives you joy and passion gives you joy and movement gives you joy, and so there is this rajas activity related joy. Tamas, as I said yesterday, is pure characteristic of darkness. It has laziness in it, it has inertia in it, it has indolence in it, it has just हिलने का मन नहीं करता, not only शरीर से मगर मन से. No guna can exist by themselves, separate from each other. They cannot independently exist. So when you are completely in, what is my last sentence?
Tamas, laziness, ignorance.
Right. Tamas. So tamas is जब वो, it's not just the body जो हिलता नहीं है, it is the mind जो हिलता नहीं है. That kind of a non-thinking mode of life, a kind of a mechanical existence, a kind of a routine में, ढीला ढाला, सोच में ढीला ढाला, I can't care, I don't bother. A lot of us, we may know how dangerous it may be to come out or be in front of an infected person, but somewhere, that some people just have that, हमें कुछ नहीं होगा. It's a conclusion drawn from non-thinking state. That reckless, either you don't think or you think ulta. Your thinking is wrong. Your thinking is in the opposite direction from what it should be. Because thinking correctly also is a form of a discipline. Everybody trains themselves to discern right and wrong, good or bad, through whatever methods one acquires. But not everybody at all time can be thinking correctly. So there will be some moments in our lives when we just should be thinking correct, but we are too overwhelmed or just don't want to do it. That's tamas. Avidya is said to be predominantly tamasic. I don't know. And that I don't know, there is some sort of a joy that's experienced. I can't care has a joy. I don't care. That, indifference, that kind of an indifferent approach, method. This Malina Sattva means when I conclude that this is giving me happiness, it has in it, that happiness has in it the ingredient of avidya, which is tamas. Got it? Yeah, good, Akansha. It has in it that ingredient of tamas in it because I'm attributing it to something outside of me. I'm seeing it outside. That is that tamasic non-thinking state. That is that I refuse to put effort to think. I just refuse to put physical effort. For most of us is so difficult to think. Then after that there is this thinking ka effort which most of us try to bypass. How do we try to bypass? Our education systems were meant to make us thinking people. But most of us land up just trying to use education as a secular way of just earning our bread and butter. So it somehow doesn't build the faculty because the whole system needs to make a person sharpen the equipment with which you're born. All of us are born with these equipments. We are born with the equipment of the body, of mind, and of intellect, of thinking capacity. We have the capacity Kriya Shakti, we have the capacity Vichara Shakti. But these Shaktis need to be directed all the time. If in a child your Kriya Shakti is not directed, we all know, no? Especially those of you who have children still young. You know, if you don't keep directing your child's energies, what happens at the end of it? In the same way, all of us, grown-ups also, we have these Shaktis which constantly need direction. So if you do not direct them in the right direction, they dissipate or they remain underdeveloped. They remain not utilized, and a not utilized faculty is definitely as amounting to weakening it. Just as your muscles, if you have exercised for some time and then you have this, and then you somehow don't exercise them for 3 months or 6 months. Now what happens? You're worse than before. It was not flabby before. Now because of exercise you toned it and then you stopped exercising, and that stopping the exercises has now made it flabby. The same thing is with thinking. When you don't exert the thinking in the right direction, again I'm coming back to the first part very, very earlier before I said, if anyone remembers, worrying is not thinking. When mind runs on its own, helter-skelter on a topic, that's not thinking. Thinking is a very disciplined process. And in that process of thinking, when a person starts to discern, Vakai mein truly did Ananda come from there? Because what should be the answer to dismiss this logic? If it came from there, then
Why did it go so fast?
all right.
And also every time I do it, it should give me the same amount of Ananda, but that doesn't happen.
Point 1, excellent. Both points correct, but more valid would be this point. And then another reason, generalize it more. Did you get the question or did you miss the question? If Ananda outside was the source of Ananda, then first everybody should, I'm sorry, I'm giving you the answer. Okay, the answer is everyone should be getting it. If outside was the source of Ananda, then everyone should have the same Ananda from it. Is that not logical? Correct, absolutely. Yes, Shruti. Everyone will get the same Ananda. If outside was the source of Ananda, if ice cream is the source of Ananda, everyone should get the source of Ananda. Then we should only have one flavor. There should be no butterscotches or chocolates or vanillas, or I don't remember more flavors. There should only be one flavor for everyone because everyone will get Ananda from it. Which proves what? It's a big revelation to a thinking person that it doesn't belong to that. And if Ananda doesn't belong to this outside thing, whether it's object or people, then where did I get the Ananda from? ये कहाँ से मुझे अनुभव हो गया एकदम से? And I am calling it pramoda, supposing here, or it is moda, or it is priya. Where did I get this gradation of happiness from? Can you point that now? The source has to be, if it's not outside,
It's inside.
has to be inside. And where inside? If it's inside also, I'll have to dig it, no? To find it. Did I ever dig Ananda? Did I put in an effort to ever discover Ananda? Correct. No. It has to be my Swarup, correct. I must be Ananda. Somehow, I just conclude myself to be not so. I just conclude myself, or I just I'm not aware of it enough, or I have not thought over it enough. Because the more I think over it, the more it comes to recognition that I am independent of any source of happiness from outside. So, kosha drishti, all panch koshas. Okay, let me conclude this first. So, sattva malina. Clear, Akanksha? Now? Yeah. So, sattva malina would mean that level of ignorance, avidya, I am carrying forward. It is still in my expression of every happiness that I seek in the world. And like I said yesterday, none of us is in a mode to say, I accept my unhappy state. Even in that mode, I am still looking for help and respite. Even when in fact, the more I am unhappy, the more I say, I need help. Because I want to get rid of it. The best example Shastra gives us is, you are not aware of your eyesight. You only become aware of your eyesight under two conditions. What are the two conditions?
When they grow weak.
When they grow weak, correct? When you can't see clearly. And second?
If there's light only, then you'll be able to see. Otherwise, you won't.
Correct. If there's light, you'll be able to see. Otherwise, you won't be able to see. But when do you pick? Okay, that is also one of the things. That's right. So 3 points. What is the third one?
When you lose it.
When you lose it is, okay, weakening and loosening, we'll keep it in the same gradation.
When
What is
there's
the
another
third?
object. When
Sorry?
there's an object.
I couldn't get it clearly. Sorry.
There's an object to look at.
Okay. When there is an object to look at. Correct. All right. Suddenly something falls in my eye. When do I become aware of my eye?
When there is dukh, when there is pain.
When something has fallen in my eye which doesn't belong to the eye. When eyes are becoming weak, I become aware of them. Now, when something has fallen in the eye, correct, that's the time I suddenly become aware of it and I want to remove it. This is Shastra example. In the same way, when I say I am dukhi, this dukhiness is never an acceptable state to anyone. And dukh may be gradations like you have sukhma gradations. So every part of me and every ounce of me and every millimeter in me of my thinking and my effort and my purusha, every bit of me wants to eradicate it. I'll try looking for solutions which will remove my dukkham. Shastra says, this is a very path-breaking thinking I'm putting forward now. Shastra says, dukh ko hatana, removal of dukh, is not seen as a kosha. Why? Because it is not acceptable. It is something which is completely false. You concluding I am dukhi is not even close to using as a tool to find who you are. But you saying I am sukhi has in it the tool to find who you are. because Ananda is getting, Atma Ananda is reflecting in your Indriya Ananda. But when I say I'm dukhi, this is completely wrong thought. It's a seed of samsara. The entire Gita starts from here. Shoka, moha, adi, nivritti is samsara nivritti. The entire removal, entire effort in human being is, all pranis, is to remove the shoka and the moha from oneself. Moha means delusion, wrong thinking, deluded thinking, lot of pain, lot of attachment, lot of suffering that one feels that one is going through. The entire Shastra starts, Atma Vidya starts, second chapter starts with Atma Vidya. Atma Vidya starts to say that this conclusion, Krishna calls Arjun, you're not even functioning like a man or a woman. Not to judge him, but to say that you've got incapacitated in your thinking. You're not thinking. If you're thinking properly, then you will at least say that I need to do something about it or something. What is the right cause? When you start trying to find, in I am Ananda, you have the imposition on objects and beings. But that Ananda is a reflection of your own Swarupa. But when you say I am Dukhi, this is nothing. This is just absolute conclusion which is useless to you. It is a seed of samsara. It is not only useless, it sows the seed of samsara, because every time I have concluded I am dukhi and I act on it, I have created the cycle of bondage. बहुत 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 बड़ी बात है. It takes a lot of time to, I don't know how to glorify this portion enough. Why are these koshas so essential to know? Because in these koshas is this portion hidden, that if I think clearly, I can unwrap it. But certain thoughts like I am dukhi, etc., I am depressed, these don't even have the seed of unraveling the truth. They are just completely, I don't even know if I should say wrong knowledge about yourself. They are just imaginary imaginations. They are complete, all grief. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, all grief. In every Vedantic text, grief is not acceptable. And yet we justify it. We justify grief because it is bound to be there in human existence, in all forms of life. But your movement for your growth, inner development, doesn't start if you're going to validate grief. You validate those emotions, those thinking patterns, which don't even have a kosha, a locus to misplace it on. I hope you get it, some of you. What is a kosha? I'm repeating now. A kosha is something that there is a placement on which you have made an error about yourself. I am a grief has no placement. I'm grieving has no placement. That means you've completely lost contact with Ananda Swarup because you placed it so outside. That absence of that makes you say that I'm not happy. That is deluded thinking. That is completely incorrect. That is misled you into a realm of samsara. And that is what puts, Vedanta says later, that is what puts in punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam cycle. So what is the way? Because this is now talking of discernment. Kosh means now you can discern. I can discern that Atma Anand. I may not discover it straight away, but I sure enough need not forget that whatever Ananda I experience has come as a reflection of Atma Ananda. but it has in it the gradation, the gradient of tamas, avidya. Because of that, I can mistake it to say because of this, and in Vyavharik Drishti it is okay, acceptable, because it keeps your Vyavhar clean and refined and less complicated, which is beautiful. It binds relations, which is beautiful. Vyavharik Drishti is different. This avidya bhuta, avidyastha, seated in avidya, non-cognition of yourself as Atma, was also the Karan Sharir. And now you will understand, expressed itself as Priya Adi Moda. In waking state also, and sometimes some people have taken it completely to mean Sushupti, sleep state. In sleep also, I have gradations of sleep, and but I prefer to prevent using the sleep point here because the definition has nowhere mentioned Sushupti in it. So, but for whatever reason, whoever's talk about it as sleep, equating it to Anandamaya kosha, we just keep it with us. But I personally do not prefer to go so much along with that line of thought as I prefer to go along with this line of thought that I have just said, because it helps a person to connect to right thinking. If Sushupti is Anandamaya kosha, I cannot touch upon it. There's nothing. I can have 3 grades of sleep, okay. In dream also we have moda, pramoda, because you get pleasant dreams, you get happy dreams, all born from your past janma, past karma, punya, all happiness from punya, etc. But kosh, I'm now going to conclude it just as 5 koshas, and we'll move on to the next verse. So what really is a kosh? Kosh is not a literal thing. Good, everybody understood. It's not a physical thing. It is a misplaced thinking on something that must be there. So when I see a body, I misplace my identity in association with the body, and I say I am the body. That I am the body has become a kosha because body can be separated and I can be separated. When I say I am now panting heavily, I have climbed the stairs, 6 stairs non-stop, or I am exercising, or I say I'm alive, I'm breathing now, or I say I am calm now, I'm this, in the sense my breathing is fine now, or I have I'm active now, I'm doing something. Pranamaya kosha. I can place it and I can be separated. Both can be separated. But the cognition is one. I am this. So Vedanta will urge us to separate the two in their proper places. One belongs to realm of no Atma, not an Atma, Anatma, Mithya. The other will be Atma, Satyam. I am feeling happiness now. I'm feeling, or I'm in a doubt now. I'm confused now. What will that become? I am confused is a self-conclusion about myself. Confusion can be separated belonging to Manomaya, mind. Mind has a data, and that data needs to be sorted Once I sort the data, my confusion goes. That means I is separate from confusion. I'm a confused person. How many conclusions are actually, I think we should do this workshop sooner than later. While I'm taking a class, I'm getting the ideas. I don't know if I'll remember them later. We can really put this down and practice it so much that it can become like you can ground in it better. Once I have clarified the confusions, I have used my Vijnanamaya. And once I'm clearer, I feel some happiness, which I've attributed to clarity of my confusion, which is Anandamaya. In this manner, there are 5 koshas. It's as if layering my correct perception of myself as Atma. Etat kosha panchakam. And then what? As we started yesterday again, Madiyam shariram madiyaha pranaha madiyam manascha madiya buddhir madiyam ajnanam iti. All of them I call as mine, 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 mine. Whatever I call as mine is separate from me. I know it as separate from me. Just as my earring, my bangle, my house, they are mine. The minute I say they are mine, I know they are separate from me and I'm the owner of it, or I have them. That separation that it shows, that you are not that. When it comes to bangle and earring and house, it is easy to see the separation because there is no self-confusion on them. I don't call the bangle myself. I don't call the house myself. But I call the body, which is also seen and known to me just the way I know the bangle and earring. I know the body, but I call the body as myself. So the confusion is around starting from the layer of body. But the example is given to say that it is as known and observable. Your body, your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your ego, the entire bundle, individuality, is as known to you as the objects are known to you. But because there is no self-confusion imposed on objects, you can only get moda, pramoda, etc. when you have them. But in starting with the body, you have self-confusion imposed on it. So, Anandamaya kosha, so kosha gyan helps to say that just as much as I know the objects of the world, so too these are known to me and should be discerned as not me. Vedanta has a prakriya called aham mama. Aham is I, mama means mine. Wherever you use mine is not I. My children, my house, my bangle. Wherever the mine starts to get attributed, mama is got a bheda from aham, I. There is another prakriya in Vedanta which is aham and idam. Idam means this. Whatever is falling under this can be mama, need not be mama. It can be mine, it need not be mine, but it is this. Whatever you can objectify as this is distinct and different from aham. So aham vichar is atma vichar. Knowing aham in its content, what is really aham comprised of, that is atma. And whatever falls under the category of idam or mama will be anatma. It's not I. With this, Panchakosha is also gone. Now what did he say? He says, Atma kaha स्थूल सूक्ष्म कारण शरीराद व्यतिरिक्तः पंचकोशातीतः सन् अवस्थात्रय साक्षी सत् चित् आनंद स्वरूपः. Tan is being so. Yah tishtati. Whatever is recognized now, whatever remains now as Sat Chit Anand, Saha Atma. That is Atma. And as the text is moving, the next question obviously will be Sat Kaha. What is the next? Thank you. Good reference.
Tat Kim?
Yeah, the next question will be after Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. Next
I think it's
question
Atma Tahir Kaha.
Kaha. Atma Tarhi Kaha. Satchidananda Swarupaha. Now this he's going to start explaining. And then he'll say Sat Kim. He'll start explaining what is Sat. And then he will say Chit Kim. And then Anandaha Kim. And with that he will finish the topic of Atma Kaha. In the next class, we will start with Atma Tarhi Kaha. So, you know, okay.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
Just a little correction. Niramaya, the visarga is there, so you must chant that. Like you did for Sukhinaha. Niramayaha.
Niramayaha. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथ्वी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं शोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
One more, that bhaya is still coming for one of you instead of bhya. So sab dar jayenge. Praja bhaya.
प्रजाभ्यः.
Correct. Absolutely. So great. Very good. Thank you, and God bless everyone, and God bless you both.
Did we have some questions?